Number 6 in our toxic series, okay? We're gonna finish up this week. As I said last week, we're gonna finish up this week, and we're gonna talk about influence. We're gonna talk about our peers. We're gonna talk about our friends, okay? Now, bear in mind, in every one of these messages, this is something that we have got to turn the mirror on ourselves and make sure that we are looking at ourselves at the same time as we are looking at others to see if there are markers that will determine if we are guilty of the same things. If we are guilty of the same behavior or the same toxic actions. We live in a world, as I've reiterated every week, we live in a world that has, like an immense amount of toxic things, whether it's our physical body that's being affected by the toxins, or our personal, our spiritual, our emotional being that's affected by the toxins, and it can damage our soul and keep us from the fullness of our relationship with God and the fullness of what God wants us to experience in this life. And so, who has kids? Who has nephews and nieces and grandkids? All right. Great-grandkids, yes. Children are awesome, okay? They are awesome. How many of you guys believe that they are also awesome mirrors? Oh, yeah. All right, so I usually defer blame onto my wife, but she's not here, so I can't really do that. It's not nice to... But have you ever, seen your child do something and you're thinking in your head, oh my goodness, where did you learn that? You're like, why? What? How? And you just start, fumbling over your words, and you're, chasing them through the house. And please tell me I'm not the only one who does that. You're just like, come here, let me get a hold of you. And you're so frustrated, okay? Now, the scary thing is, anybody who knows my son knows that I'm literally looking in the mirror every day that I see him. It is weird because I'll look at pictures of me as a child, and then there's sometimes when I look at him and I feel like I'm looking at myself. Not just, physically, but, emotionally and spiritually, all right? There are tendencies in our children that are born of our actions, right? It's not always just genetics. Their attitudes, their behaviors, their certain quirky things that they, their laughter, even the way they walk. You can notice that they're your children. Now, my wife always gets mad because, every child of ours that was born, when she would look at them pretty immediately or soon after that, she had said these exact words, I carried this child for 9 months and it comes out looking like you. And actually at Easter Seals, this last week, I was telling somebody, some of my coworkers were telling somebody, my supervisor actually, that my kids look just like me. And she just looked at me and felt sorry for my children. And I said, no. I said, they're cute. They're like a cute version of me. And she still looked at me kind of funny. But anyway, you can see that in physical ways, but you can also see that in their personalities. And that's the scary thing, is that there is this ability through connection, through personal engagement, through friendships, that our peers can begin to take on certain mannerisms of our own. When you're married for a long time, you will begin to notice certain personality traits will change about you. I still remember the day that one of my mentors, who was the Master's Commission director, I was the assistant director sitting under him, and we were at church on a Sunday night, and he was preaching, okay? And he was talking about how the influences happen, and you can begin to mirror things that you're around all the time. And he mentioned someone by name that night. I was just shocked. But he mentioned somebody by name, and then he mentioned their dog. And he said, have you ever noticed that so-and-so, and then he named the dog, look a lot alike? And this guy, he had the inability to filter himself. And so he said, oh, shoot. He stood up and took a pill out of his mouth. He said, I forgot pill 2, and took it. And he was serious. Um, there are things that can have a significant effect on our life. Here's a quote that I found earlier this week. I'm not 100% sure who it's by, but it says this: toxic relationships are dangerous to your health. They will literally kill you. Stretch shortens your lifespan. Even a broken heart can kill you. There is an undeniable mind-body connection. Your arguments and hateful talk can land you in an emergency room or, I'm not going to say that part. You were not meant to live in a fever of anxiety, screaming yourself hoarse in a frenzy of dreadful, panicked fight or flight that leaves you exhausted and numb with grief. You were meant to be, you were not meant to live like animals, another to shreds. Don't turn your hair gray or cause it to fall out. Don't carve a roadmap of pain into the sweet wrinkles on your face. Don't lay in the quiet with your heart pounding like a trapped, frightened creature. For your own precious and beautiful life and for those around you, seek help or get out before it's too late. Proverbs 25:26 says this: like a muddied spring or a polluted well are the righteous who give way to the wicked. That life that you have in you, that water, the purity of that water, the goodness of that water that's born of you, that spring that's born of you because of Christ living in you, can be muddied and polluted by the actions of those around you when it starts to affect you. And here's the scary thing, and this is so true. Relationships are one of the most significant yet dangerous parts of our life. Relationships are one of the most, they're significant. They empower us. They encourage us. They build us up. They give us hope. They give us courage. Our relationships build in us things that will sustain us in life. Our relationships will create in us a greater connection to Jesus Christ. Our relationships will build or tear down. And, our relationships are personal. Our relationships can be places of comfort. They can be places of trust. They can be places where we become vulnerable. It can be places of love. But it's in these places that we can either be nurtured to life or left barren. We know that relationships can leave us depleted or in a wasteland or built up and hope-filled. In 1 Corinthians 15:33, it says, "Don't be fooled by those who say such things, for bad company corrupts good character." And the Message, it says, "Don't let yourselves be poisoned by this anti-resurrection loose talk. Bad company ruins good manners," or bad company corrupts good character. And I know that all of you have seen it unfold in the people around you. You have unfortunately seen it unfold in your own life. You have watched as an influence has affected you so much that you begin to let down your guard. You begin to do things that you should have never done. You begin to feel the effects of their painful and evil actions. Makes you hopeless. See, my prayer today is that our eyes will be opened to the truth. I'm going to label some things, and I'm going to travel through these really quickly because I'm hoping that it'll spark in your mind something that needs to be dealt with as far as a relationship is concerned, or your own personal actions and who you are. Because like I shared with you the first week, the narcissist exists in every one of us. The narcissist is someone who puts themselves first, someone who thinks that their goals and their ideals are the most important, and it doesn't matter the cost consequence to the people around us to get to what we want. All of us have been guilty of that at one time or another. And so, by the grace of God, may we discover where we are failing, or may we discover where the people around us are failing us and causing damage to our life. Okay, so how many of you guys have ever experienced the manipulating judger? There is no end to how little they will make you feel. They're negative, and they will push at you, they'll attack you, they'll shame you, they'll hurt you. They are essentially bullies. And we become the victims of their need to satisfy, or their need to satisfy their own desire to control. They will affect us in bad ways. They're the manipulating judger. There's the emotional blackmailer. They will push on us with guilt and overuse us with our sense of obligation. They will instill fear in us to only get their way. All right, this is the attention seeker. Emotional blackmail is a powerful form of manipulation which operates with fear, obligation, and guilt. This is the person that blackmails us into a relationship and causes us to feel like we have to or we must. The cloak and dagger backstabber. We've all experienced this before. This is the person that we sit down with, like I was sharing with you earlier. We're vulnerable, or someone's vulnerable with us, and we share details of our life. We share very deeply personal things that are going on with us, and the next thing you know is that they share it with somebody else. They guise it under the, well, I really need you to pray for so-and-so. Now, I don't want to say this, but I feel like I need to so that your prayers are more specific, right? It's awful what can happen. And the cloak and dagger backstabber, they have this ability to shift responsibility off of themselves. They have this power to, when you approach them or you confront them with it, they weave a tale, tall tales, and shift responsibility, luring us back into a relationship with them. There's the rainmaker, right? This is the one who's always negative, that always wants to bring everybody into their dysfunction and their misery. It won't work, or it's just who I am, or that's just life. And that's their mantra. That's what they speak all the time. They feed off of negativity. This is a scary one, because I have watched as people who have relationships with certain people begin to take on this tendency, and this is a rotten one. This is the ones that, like, I can't remember who said this, but this is the one that's, you can make heaven into hell by your attitude, the way you see it. You can make any heaven a hell. Any reflection of God's glory or goodness that would come into your life, you can see it so wrong that you're blind to the goodness of it. There's the joking dumpster. All right, this one's painful because they make a joke out of everything. They act like everything's funny, and then when you say that really hurt, they tell you that you're too, you don't know how to take a joke, or you're too stiff, and you need to loosen up a little bit. But here's the crazy thing is their comedy actually becomes the undercutting that causes your life serious pain. They jab at you or stab you with funny statements, and then you feel like horrible about yourself. And they're sly, and they sneak it in there. Or the needy stalker, you guys know who I'm talking about there. They're the pity party. They're the ones who's always calling you and looking at you as their God or their answer, their solution to their pain. And then there's the tempter influencer. You know the type. They're the ones who say, it won't be that bad. It's come hang out with me. Come do some things. Let's go try this out, or let's go hang out here. And their destructive practices and patterns can begin to rub off on us. What looks a fun time or no big, just, let's go do this because it's not going to harm your spirit. It's not going to be bad. Let's just go. And before you know it, the things that you should practice self-control in become massive indulgences. And it affects you. This list is not all inclusive. You know what's going on. You know who you've encountered before in your life that are absolutely dangerous to your spirituality. We're pretty clear on that. And like I said before, we need to pray that God would reveal to us if we are the one who's having it happen to us or if we're the instigator of that behavior. In John 10:10, it says the thief comes the thief does not come except to steal, kill, and destroy. I came that you may have life and that they may have it more abundantly. That they may have life more abundantly. We know that the devil, the enemy, the liar, manipulator, the father of lies, that evil himself has come to create great damage in our life. And he will do everything in his power to ruin and destroy any amount of peace that we can have. So here's a list of a couple of things that we should do. And these are just practical ideas, okay? I'm not telling you that all of these will work. These are just some of the things that I put together that I hope will help, all right? The first thing is we've got to practice self-compassion. We've got to practice self-compassion. Like when we begin to feel bad about ourselves because of someone else's behavior, we can begin to act out rashly, or we can begin to act out with anger, with actions, and with our own words. When someone is toxic to us, we have an inclination to return that toxic behavior, that toxic attitude. We can have the inclination to come back at them with bad attitude, with bad actions or words. And we've got to turn inward and begin to focus on our feelings instead of avoiding them. We've got to focus on ourselves, pay attention to us. We've got to be feeling love towards ourselves, right? We need to ask God to help us to see ourselves clearly and see ourselves as He has designed us. See ourselves as precious because of the fact that we are His created and we are beautiful and special and specific. We've got to practice self-compassion. Now, number two, this is a risky one, but we've got to be intelligent about it. We've got to talk to other people. Now, don't get yourself in the place where you say, well, I'm going to talk about this toxic person in a negative way towards somebody else. No, that's not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you to go to somebody that is trusted, someone that you know is safe, a pastor, a spiritual leader, someone that you look up to, and you go to them and you say, okay, help me out on this. Help me see something. Help me to notice or to recognize that something is going on here that I can't see clearly. Find a safe space to share your feelings and ask for them to listen and maybe give advice. Practice empathy and compassion. Now, this is a hard one. Because you just want to hate people that hate you. You want to despise people that cause you pain. You want to, sometimes it's easier when a person like that comes into our life and we want to remove them. I understand that there are times, and I'll get to this, there are times that we need to cut them off and just walk away. But there are also times when in doing that, we want a reason to easily evacuate the relationship. So we come up with reasons to hate them, why they're rotten, why they're evil, why they're bad, and why they'll never get better. But we've got to have empathy and compassion. There are reasons that they're this way. It could be the family that they were raised in. It could be their mother or father and what they did to them. It could be who raised them, whatever guardian that was. It could be their relationship with a husband or a wife. It can be their own children's actions towards them. They're human just like us. And we want to say, okay, you're a toxic influence, you're an evil, you're causing me pain, and you're causing me suffering. You're in ways I never felt before. And so, you know what? I'm just going to push you away, and I'm going to never put a spot in my heart to feel love or compassion for you. We need to practice empathy, and that's hard. And sometimes we're going to have to get on our knees, and we're going to have to ask God, help me. Break my heart. Do something big, God, so that my heart that has grown hardened to this individual will begin to loosen up its hard ground, and that the soil will be fresh again. We need to pray for the end of their suffering. We need to pray for the end of their pain. We need to talk to them as well. Now, this is the part where we have to really be careful, because we can try to return pain for pain. Like, you did this to me, so I'm going to do this to you. Like, this is those moments where we have to guard our rebuke. These are the moments where we have to step back and say, okay, God, let me be cautious about this. Let me do this right. God, help me to take action in an appropriate way. Help me to take action in a way that's healthy. I need to talk to this toxic person. I need to engage in a conversation to help them see where they're at and help them see what they're doing. I need to be proactive in peacemaking. I need to be the better person. I need to see that they're suffering and try to connect with them. Of course, model the behavior you want to see, right? Do unto others what you would have them do unto you. Like, model that behavior. Even if like often their personality and character becomes ours. And even if we feel like it's their fault, our behavior can always escalate the situation. It can always make it worse. Try to show how to deal with frustration correctly. Try to be compassionate. Be living proof of Christ's love that dwells in us. Model it. Show them care. Show them that they have meaning. Show them that they're special. Have compassion on them in your behavior towards them. We got to find more positive friends too. I'm not telling you that you stop being with them altogether, but if you're going to be with them, find friends that build you up. Find friends that fill your tank. Find peers that are going to make you a better person. Because when you're with somebody who's toxic, it can drain you. It can drain you physically. It can drain you emotionally. It can drain you spiritually. And when you then practice spending time with people that are encouraging, that build you up, that give you life, that challenge you to be a better person, people that pour into your life through Scripture and through telling you the truth of God, those are the kind of people that you want to spend time with, so that when you're with them, you feel filled up and you feel better and you feel encouraged. And then when you're with the other, you can hold on to that as you pour out, as you give to others. And then there are times when you got to cut them off or cut them out of your life. And it's a harsh thing. It can feel painful to us. You know, these relationships become attachments. It may not be necessarily a codependency thing. It may be, but we find that in these relationships we are attached. We are merged with this person. We become a part of their lives, and they become a part of our lives, and we're infused, so to speak. And it can be a painful experience, but there are times when the relationship is too caustic and too dangerous to continue. You know, like, one of the things that we've got to realize is that all of us in some way are leaders, but there are times when we become followers. We have to realize that there are times in our life where we just follow the norm, or we follow the person, or we follow and participate in their behavior. And it's in those times where we have to realize that bad company corrupts good morals. You're not rejecting them. You're not telling them they're not worth your time or your effort. You're not telling them, it's not an indication that you hate them or you think that they're, that they're a waste that they're a waste and that there's no opportunity for them to change. In this action, you are actually looking to protect yourself because it's your weakness. It's your own weakness. And don't be afraid to say, yeah, I'm weak. I'm weak around this person. I don't know why, but they tend to drag me down. And a lot of times we want to blame people. You drag me down. You're bad for me, and then we push them away. But honestly, we have to reflect on our own actions and realize that there are moments where we are the ones who are weak. And we are the ones who are dragged down by their behaviors. Colossians 3:16 is a beautiful verse. It says, let the message about Christ and all its richness fill your lives. Teach and counsel each other with all the wisdom he gives. It's the message about Christ. The gospel is always central, guys. I can give you, significant, thoughts, and I can give you empowering, phrases, and I can give you lists and say, okay, do this and do that. I can be nothing but a glorified motivational speaker if I don't turn you towards the gospel in all its richness. Fill your lives in all that the gospel is, in all that the message is, in all its richness. Let it fill your lives and teach and counsel each other with all the wisdom he gives to us. Most important one of all of these is to cry out to Jesus. To cry out to Jesus. Referencing John 10:10 again, we know that the thief does not come except to steal, kill, and destroy, but we know that Christ has come. I have come that they may have life and that they may have it more abundantly. He has come into our lives to make us abundant at life, abundant in life, to experience the fullness that only he can offer. What is the influence in your life? I mean, just stepping out for a minute and not just specifically speaking about this message alone. We live in an area with all kinds of contaminants. The world is broken. People are sinful, including ourselves. And we know that everything that is toxic in us, that is toxic that is being thrown at us, has the potential to steal from us, to kill us, and to destroy us. And where do we turn? Where do we turn? We turn to Jesus. He is the answer. He will always be the answer. He is the one that we will always need. Why? Because he is free from toxins. He is free from the contaminants of this world. He is perfect. He is perfect. And in that perfection, he came and he died and he rose again to give us freedom. He is the only purification you will ever find that will completely and totally take all of these things out of your life. He's the best friend you will ever have. I know there's a lot of different things that I mentioned today. Really, in all of it, I just wanted to draw you towards the people that are affecting you and then how to deal with it. How do we address it? Okay, I listed a couple other things, but really, more than anything else, I want you to cry out to Jesus. I want you to cry out to Jesus. Father, we pray right now that your Son would be the focal point of our heart right now. As we consider the people in our lives that damage us, as we consider our own lives and how we have become a risk to the people that we're around, that how we have damaged those in our own lives. God, help us to confront our own sin. Help us, God, to confess our own sin, the toxins that are born of our life. And as we look at the people around us and see how dangerous they are to us, help us to know what it is. If we can be with them and show them truth and speak life to them and encourage them to be, to not be that way and to call on your name, Jesus, give us the opportunities to do so. And if that person is dangerous to us because of our own vulnerabilities and because of their actions, help us to know when it's time to step back and break free. But most of all, may we know, Christ, that we need you. May you sanctify us. Essentially, you make us pure. You make us clean. You're the one who draws us towards our perfect God, that you reconcile us even with all of our evil and corrupt contaminant that's entered our life. Jesus, set us free this morning of the evil that's been spoken over us and the evil that we've spoken over others, even the evil that we speak to ourselves. Amen.